Commander Jack Nelson looked out the main viewport of the GSA Explorer ship Horizon. The stars looked different from the edge of the solar system. Even Neptune appeared small from here, just a blue dot in the distance. It was 2150, and humanity had changed a lot in the last century. After years of fighting each other, humans had finally come together under the Global Space Alliance. The GSA now spoke for all of Earth. "Commander, we're picking up something strange," said Officer Susan Miller from her station. "It's not one of ours." Jack walked over to her screen. A small object was moving near Neptune's orbit. It wasn't following any path that made sense for space rocks. "How big is it?" Jack asked. "About the size of a small car," Susan replied. "And it's changing course." "That's not natural." Jack took a deep breath. This was why the GSA sent ships to the edges of the solar system. They had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Today might be the day they got their answer. "Send a message to Earth, then let's move closer." Slowly, Jack ordered. The Horizon changed course. As they approached the object, they could see it clearly. It was made of a smooth silver material that reflected the distant sunlight. It had odd shapes and parts that didn't look like anything humans had ever built. "It's a probe," said Alan Wright, the science officer. "And I don't think it's from Earth." Just as he finished speaking, the alien probe sent out a pulse of light. A large hologram appeared in front of the Horizon. In the hologram was a creature that looked nothing like a human. It had 4 eyes and skin that seemed to shimmer like fish scales. "We are the Zephyrian Alliance," the creature said in perfect English. It must have been studying Earth's communications. "We come in peace to meet our galactic neighbors." 3 days later, the first official meeting between humans and aliens took place on the GSA carrier ship Bastion. The Bastion was the largest ship humans had ever built. It was the size of a small city, with room for 50,000 people. The Zephyrians arrived in their own ship, which was much smaller than the Bastion. When the 7 alien representatives walked into the main hall of the Bastion, they seemed nervous. Their eyes widened as they looked around. "Your vessel is enormous," said the lead alien, who called himself Cell. "We did not expect such a large warship." Admiral Patricia Hayes, the highest-ranking human present, looked confused. "The Bastion is just a carrier ship. It's not even our largest military vessel." The aliens looked at each other. They seemed worried. "In the Zephyrian Alliance, which includes 7 species from different planets, we build small ships. Fast ships. No species we know builds warships this large," Cell explained. Jack and Susan were chosen as cultural exchange officers. Their job was to learn about the aliens and teach them about humans. Over the next few weeks, they learned many things. The Zephyrians had been traveling space for hundreds of years. They had met many other alien species. They had formed a peaceful alliance. But one thing became very clear. Humans built much bigger ships than any alien species. The Zephyrians were especially interested in human military technology. They asked many questions about the Bastion and other GSA ships. "Why do you need such large warships?" Cell asked Jack one day. Jack thought about Earth's violent past, the wars that nearly destroyed their planet before they united. "We learned the hard way that we need to be ready to defend ourselves," Jack said simply. What Jack didn't say was that Earth was already building something even bigger than the Bastion, something the size of a small moon. Just in case. 6 months after humans met the Zephyrians, Earth received an invitation. The Galactic Concord, a gathering of 23 alien species, wanted humans to join them. Admiral Patricia Hayes led the human delegation to the alien capital world called Nexus. The journey took 3 weeks in Earth's fastest ship. When they arrived, even Admiral Hayes was impressed. Nexus was a beautiful planet with 3 moons and rings like Saturn. The main city stretched across an entire continent. The human delegation stepped off their ship and met the Concord leaders. There were aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like tall insects. Others had fur or scales. One species was made of living crystal. "Welcome to the heart of galactic civilization," said Vixel, the Zephyrian who had first contacted Earth. "We have voted to give Earth observer status in the Concord." The humans were given tours of the alien city. They saw amazing technology. The aliens had cures for most diseases. They had robots that could build entire buildings in days. They had food that could change flavor with a thought. But Lieutenant Gregory Walsh, a military observer, noticed something odd about the alien ships in orbit. None of them were very large. "Why are all your warships so small?" he asked a four-armed alien engineer. "Small? They are not small. The Guardian-class vessels are our largest warships," the alien said proudly. "Each one can hold 500 crew members." Greg tried not to look surprised. The smallest human military ships held more people than that. The Bastion carrier back home had 50,000 crew members. "May I ask about your defensive capabilities?" Greg asked carefully. The alien showed him their weapon systems. They were advanced in many ways, with energy beams and force shields. But they were not very powerful compared to human weapons. Later that night, Greg shared his findings with Admiral Hayes. "It's strange," Greg said. "They have amazing technology, but their military power is limited. The ships they call capital ships are the size of our small cruisers." Admiral Hayes nodded. "I noticed the same thing. And they keep asking about our larger ships." The next day, Greg found something disturbing in the Concord's public records. There were reports of colonies going dark at the edges of known space. Something was attacking the outer worlds, but the Concord wasn't talking about it openly. When he brought this up to a Zephyrian official, the alien looked nervous. "It is nothing to worry about," the official said. "Just some space pirates and raiders. The Concord Security Force handles these matters." Greg didn't believe him. The reports he found showed entire planets losing contact. That was not the work of pirates. When the humans offered military assistance, the Concord leaders politely declined. "Your species is still new to space travel," they said. "We have been managing galactic security for thousands of years." But Admiral Hayes could see through their words. The aliens were afraid of something. And they were also afraid of human military power. When the human delegation returned to Earth, they brought all this information to the GSA leaders. A decision was made. Earth would continue to build bigger ships. Work began on Colossus, Earth's first true planet-sized warship. It would take 5 years to complete, but when finished, it would be the size of Earth's moon. It would have weapons that could destroy entire fleets. It would house millions of people. "The aliens are hiding something from us," Admiral Hayes told the GSA Council. "Something is coming, and they're not ready for it. But we will be." As Earth worked on the Colossus, more reports came from the edges of Concord space. More colonies were going silent. And the aliens still refused human help. They would learn soon enough why humans built such large warships. 2 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Concord as observers. In that time, the reports of lost colonies grew worse. The Concord finally admitted there was a problem. They called the enemy the Void Swarm. Lieutenant Kate Franklin and Science Officer Paul Martinez were sent to study a destroyed outpost. Their ship, the Intrepid, was small by human standards, but still larger than most alien vessels. "This place was hit 3 days ago," Kate said as they approached the small moon base. "The Concord asked us to find out what happened." The base looked like something had taken bites out of it. Large chunks of the buildings were simply gone. The remaining parts were covered in a strange black substance. Kate and Paul put on their spacesuits and went inside. The air was gone. Bodies floated in the corridors, but something was wrong with them. "These people, they're half-eaten," Paul said, his voice shaking. "Look at the bite marks. Whatever did this wasn't just killing them." They collected samples of the black substance. Under a microscope, it moved like it was alive. It was made of millions of tiny machines, smaller than cells. "It's a nanoswarm," Paul said, "like tiny robots that work together. They eat organic material and technology, then use it to make more of themselves. Kate sent their findings to Earth immediately. The GSA leaders took the threat seriously. They had seen the reports of lost colonies and knew this was just the beginning. Captain Daniel Harrison decided to take action. Without permission from his superiors, he met with several Concord military leaders in secret. "We've seen this pattern before," he told them, showing old Earth records. Not the same enemy, but the same behavior. They start at the edges, picking off small colonies. Then they grow stronger and move inward. The alien leaders looked troubled. "If what you say is true, the Concord defenses will not be enough," said a reptilian commander. "Our ships are built for peacekeeping, not for war with a hive mind." Daniel nodded. "That's why Earth is building bigger ships. We learned from our past. We had wars that nearly destroyed us. We know what it takes to fight an enemy that doesn't negotiate." Back on Earth, construction of the Colossus continued day and night. It was half complete now, a massive structure orbiting Jupiter. 3 more planet-sized ships were also being built. They would be called Defender, Guardian, and Protector. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of her ship, looking at the growing Colossus through a viewport. "It's magnificent," said the engineer beside her. "When it's done, it will house 5 million people. Its weapons can destroy moons." "Let's hope we never need to use those weapons," the admiral replied. But deep down, she knew they would. The void swarm was growing. Every colony it consumed made it stronger. Soon it would attack larger worlds. The Concord was still not taking the threat seriously enough. They sent small fleets to deal with the problem, but those ships never returned. Earth offered help again, but the Concord leaders were divided. Some wanted human assistance. Others feared Earth's growing military power more than they feared the swarm. "They don't understand what's coming," Kate told Paul after another failed meeting with Concord officials. "They've been at peace so long, they've forgotten how to fight a real war." As if to prove her point, news came that night of the largest attack yet. A major outpost with 50,000 people had gone silent. The void swarm was getting closer to populated worlds. Earth couldn't wait any longer. The Colossus would have to be launched early, ready or not. The void swarm attacked a major Zephyrian colony world called Elysium. Home to over 5 million aliens, Elysium was not a small outpost, but a fully developed planet with cities and defense systems. The Concord sent their largest battle group to defend it. 30 ships, each carrying hundreds of crew members. They thought it would be enough. It wasn't. The Concord ships arrived to find thousands of small black objects surrounding the planet. The objects moved together like a school of fish. When the Concord fleet opened fire, the swarm simply moved apart, letting the energy beams pass through empty space. Then the swarm attacked. They didn't use weapons. They simply crashed into the ships, covering them with the same black substance that Kate and Paul had found. Within hours, all 30 ships were gone, eaten from the inside out. On the surface of Elysium, people ran for their ships. But there weren't enough ships to save everyone. The swarm was already landing, spreading across the ground like a flood of black water. That's when the Colossus arrived. Even half-finished, the Colossus was enormous. It was the size of a small moon, with weapons larger than most Concord ships. Its shields glowed blue as it moved between Elysium and the swarm. Captain Richard Green stood on the bridge, looking at the enemy on the view screens. "All weapons, fire at will," he ordered. The Colossus didn't fire energy beams like the Concord ships. It fired physical shells, massive rounds that exploded into storms of smaller projectiles. Each round spread out, catching hundreds of swarm units. The explosions were so bright they could be seen from the planet's surface. The swarm tried to attack the Colossus, but the human ship's hull was too thick. The black substance couldn't eat through it fast enough before defense systems burned it away. For 6 hours, the Colossus fought while transport ships evacuated people from Elysium. When the last transport was clear, Captain Green gave a new order. Deploy the Nova device. A small object left the Colossus and flew toward the main concentration of the swarm. When it exploded, it created a mini-sun that burned for 30 seconds. When it faded, a third of the swarm was gone. The rest retreated into deep space. The people of Elysium were saved, but their world was lost. The surface was covered in the black substance. It would take years to clean it, if it could be cleaned at all. The survivors were taken to Nexus, the Concord capital. There, the Concord Council held an emergency meeting. Humans were right, said the Zephyrian leader, who had lost family on Elysium. The swarm is not a simple threat. It is an existential one, and our defenses are not adequate. Admiral Laura Johnson, representing Earth, stood before the council. We've been preparing for large-scale conflict since discovering similar threats in deep space decades ago, she explained. That's why we build ships the size of small planets, not because we want war, but because we understand what it takes to survive one. She showed them plans for the other 3 warships Earth was building. Each one was even larger than the Colossus. We propose a joint defense initiative, she said. Earth will provide the large warships. The Concord provides the technology and smaller ships for support. Some council members looked frightened by the human ships. Others looked relieved. These vessels could destroy entire worlds if turned against us, said one alien leader. Yes, Admiral Johnson agreed. But right now, worlds are already being destroyed. The question is, do you want to be next, or do you want our help? The council chamber filled with arguments. The Galactic Concord was about to make the most important decision in its history. The Galactic Concord split into 2 groups after the battle at Elysium. The first group, led by the Zephyrians, wanted to accept human help. They saw what the Colossus did against the Void Swarm. They knew their own ships couldn't match that power. The second group feared Earth's growing influence. They worried that after the swarm was defeated, humans would use their massive warships to rule the galaxy. We cannot trust a species that builds weapons large enough to destroy planets, said the leader of the Crystal Collective, one of the oldest Concord members. We cannot survive without them, replied the Zephyrian representative. My world is lost. Yours could be next. Earth sent diplomat Eric Brown to help keep their allies. Eric was good at his job. He spoke calmly and never made threats. He just showed the facts. The swarm was growing, and only Earth had ships big enough to fight it. We don't want to rule the galaxy, Eric told the Concord Council. We just want to survive, and we want you to survive too. Some believed him, others didn't. Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Olivia Garcia worked with alien scientists to share technology. The aliens had many advanced systems that humans didn't. Better shields, faster engines, more efficient power sources. Humans had bigger guns and stronger armor. If we combine our technologies, we all become stronger, Olivia said during a meeting with alien engineers. You can teach us, and we can teach you. Some alien engineers were eager to work with humans. They wanted to see how Earth built such large ships. Others refused to share their knowledge. The Colossus returned to Earth for repairs and upgrades. While it was there, Admiral Johnson revealed a secret to the Concord allies who had joined Earth. The Colossus is not our largest vessel, she said, showing them images of a massive structure being built in orbit around Jupiter. It's just a medium-sized ship in our true fleet. The aliens were shocked. The structure they saw was 10 times larger than the Colossus. It wasn't the size of a small moon. It was the size of a small planet. This is the first of our Sentinel-class vessels, Admiral Johnson explained. True planet-sized warships. The Bastion Prime will be ready in 6 months. One alien ambassador fainted at the news. Another asked, "Why would you need ships so large?" The answer came sooner than expected. The Void Swarm attacks grew more coordinated and devastating. They hit 3 colony worlds at the same time. The Concord fleet was spread too thin. Many ships were lost. The anti-human coalition suffered the worst losses. They had refused Earth's help and relied on their own defenses. It wasn't enough. Two of their major worlds were completely overrun. Captain Daniel Harrison led a rescue mission to save survivors. His ship was smaller than the Colossus, but still larger than any alien vessel. When he arrived at the besieged world, he found thousands of refugee ships trying to escape while the swarm closed in. Daniel's ship had a new weapon developed by Olivia Garcia and her alien partners. It created a field that slowed down the tiny machines that made up the swarm. Inside this field, the refugees could escape while the swarm moved as slowly as molasses. The mission saved over 2 million lives. When Daniel returned to Nexus with the survivors, even the anti-human coalition had to thank him. "Perhaps we have been too quick to judge humans," said the Crystal Collective leader, who had lost her homeworld to the swarm. "Your methods are aggressive, but effective." The tide was turning. More alien species joined Earth's alliance every day. And construction of the Bastion Prime, Earth's first true planet-sized warship, was ahead of schedule. The final confrontation with the Void Swarm was coming. The anti-human coalition suffered a final, crushing defeat 3 months later. The Void Swarm attacked their central world, a gas giant with floating cities. The coalition had gathered their entire fleet there. Over 200 ships formed a defensive line around the planet. The swarm came in waves, billions of tiny machines moving together like a dark cloud. The coalition ships fought bravely. Their energy weapons carved paths through the swarm. Their shields held against the first attacks. But there were too many. Wave after wave crashed against the shields until they failed. Then the tiny machines covered the ships, eating through hulls and into crew compartments. The screams of dying aliens filled the communication channels. In just 6 hours, the coalition lost 90% of their fleet. The floating cities began to fall from the sky as the swarm ate through their support systems. That's when Earth's first true planet-sized warship, Bastion Prime, completed construction. Captain Richard Green, who had commanded the Colossus, was given command of this new vessel. The Bastion Prime was enormous beyond imagination. It housed 3 million crew members and had room for 10 million more. Its weapons could destroy moons with single shots. Its shields could withstand the explosion of a small sun. When it arrived at the gas giant, the remaining coalition ships looked like toys beside it. "This is Captain Richard Green of the Earth ship Bastion Prime," he broadcast to all channels. "We are here to assist. All survivors, head for our ship. We will cover your retreat." The Bastion Prime moved between the swarm and the falling cities. Then it did something no ship had done before. It opened its outer hull, revealing thousands of smaller ships inside. These ships flew out and began picking up survivors from the air before the cities hit the planet's crushing atmosphere. Meanwhile, the main weapons of the Bastion Prime fired into the heart of the swarm. These weren't just explosives. They were special weapons designed by human scientists Monica Clark and Ryan Cooper. The weapons released a signal that confused the tiny machines, making them attack each other. For the first time, the swarm retreated not because it wanted to, but because it had no choice. When the battle was over, the Bastion Prime had saved over 5 million aliens and destroyed nearly half of the swarm forces. The coalition leaders, who had fought against human involvement, now saw the truth. They couldn't win this war alone. On the bridge of the Bastion Prime, Monica Clark and Ryan Cooper studied the swarm samples they had collected. "I think I know what these are," Monica said after days of research. "They're not just machines. They're a weapon created by someone." Ryan looked at the data on his screen. "You're right. The programming is too perfect. This isn't natural evolution. Someone made the swarm." They took their findings to Captain Green. He immediately called a meeting with Admiral Johnson and the Concord leaders. "The Void Swarm is an engineered weapon," Monica explained to the gathered leaders. "It was created by an ancient civilization. Based on the programming we found, that civilization is now extinct, probably destroyed by their own creation." This news changed everything. If the swarm was a weapon, it might have a central control system, something that could be targeted and destroyed. The remains of the coalition fleet officially joined Earth's alliance. There was no more division among the alien species. They all recognized the need to stand together. 3 more colony worlds fell to the swarm while Earth completed its next planet-sized warships. The enemy was moving faster now, as if it sensed that humans had discovered its secret. Earth formed a new military alliance outside the Concord framework. All species were welcome to join. Most did. They called it the Galactic Defense Force. The stage was set for the final battle. The Void Swarm launched its biggest attack 3 weeks later. It wasn't aimed at a single world. It attacked on 20 different fronts at once. The swarm had grown smart enough to know it needed to split the Galactic Defense Force. Admiral Laura Johnson stood in the central command room of Earth's space station. Around her were the leaders of every alien species in the Alliance. They watched as red dots appeared on the giant map of the galaxy. "They're attacking everywhere," said the Zephyrian leader. "We don't have enough ships to defend all these systems." "We don't need to," Admiral Johnson replied. Her face was calm. "This is what we've been waiting for." The swarm is spreading itself thin. Earth deployed all 5 of its planet-sized warships. Each one was assigned to a different sector. The Bastion Prime, commanded by Captain Richard Green, went to the sector where sensors detected the largest concentration of the swarm. The human warships were supported by thousands of smaller alien vessels. The ships worked together in a way they never had before. Human engineers had helped upgrade alien weapons. Alien scientists had improved human shields. Lieutenant Samantha Cole led a special team on the Bastion Prime. She wasn't there to fight the swarm directly. Her mission was different. If Monica and Ryan are right, the swarm has a central control system, she told her team as they prepared their small, fast ship. "We're going to find it." Samantha's ship was designed to be invisible to the swarm. It was covered in a special material that the tiny machines couldn't detect. The ship could fly right through the swarm without being noticed. As the biggest space battle in galactic history began, Samantha's ship slipped away from the Bastion Prime. They flew into the heart of the swarm, following a signal that Monica and Ryan had discovered. The main battle was incredible to see. The 5 human planet-sized warships formed a defensive line protecting the remaining Concord worlds. Their weapons lit up space with explosions larger than most moons. The swarm attacked in waves, millions of tiny machines moving together. Some got through. They landed on the human ships and began to eat through the hull. But the ships were so large that it would take weeks for the swarm to do serious damage. Meanwhile, special teams in armored suits went outside and burned the machines away. On a smaller human cruiser, Captain Andrew Davis saw that the swarm was about to break through a gap in the defensive line. If they got through, they would reach a populated world with billions of people. "All power to engines," he ordered. His ship moved into the gap, directly in the path of the swarm. "Sir, there are too many," his first officer said. "We can't stop them all." "We don't need to stop them all," Captain Davis replied. "We just need to slow them down until the Bastion Prime can get here." His ship took the full force of the swarm attack. The tiny machines covered the hull, eating through faster than the defense teams could burn them away. Captain Davis ordered all non-essential crew to the escape pods. "I'm staying," he told his first officer. "Someone needs to make sure the main reactor overloads at the right moment." The officer wanted to argue but knew there was no time. He left with the last escape pod as the ship's hull began to fail. Captain Davis waited until his sensors showed the largest concentration of the swarm around his ship. Then he triggered the reactor overload. The explosion destroyed his ship and a huge section of the swarm. The gap in the defensive line held long enough for the Bastion Prime to arrive. Meanwhile, Samantha Cole's team reached their destination. In the center of the largest swarm concentration, they found something unexpected: a ship. Not a human ship or a Concord ship, something much older. The ancient ship at the center of the swarm was smaller than Samantha expected. It was about the size of an Earth cruiser. Its metal skin was black and smooth, with no visible windows or doors. "This is it," Samantha told her team. "The control center of the swarm." They put on their spacesuits and left their ship. As they approached the ancient vessel, a door opened as if inviting them in. "It knows we're here," said one of her team members. "This could be a trap." "We have no choice," Samantha replied. "We have to stop the swarm from the inside." They entered the ship and found something no one expected. At the center was not a computer or a weapon, but a chamber with a single life support pod. Inside the pod was a being. It looked almost human, but its skin was pale blue and it had no hair. When it saw them, its eyes opened. They were completely black. "You are not like the others," it said through some kind of translation system. "You build ships as large as I do." Meanwhile, in space, the battle continued to rage. The human planet-sized warships were holding their own against the swarm, but they couldn't be everywhere at once. Some Concord worlds were already lost. Richard Green on the Bastion Prime received a message from Samantha's team explaining what they had found. "It's not an AI controlling the swarm," she reported. "It's a living being. The last survivor of its species. It says its people were wiped out in a war long ago. It's been using the swarm to protect itself and gather resources." Richard relayed this information to Admiral Johnson. She immediately called for a ceasefire in sectors where humans were winning. "If it's a living being, maybe we can talk to it," she said. Back on the ancient ship, Samantha tried to negotiate with the alien. "Your swarm is destroying worlds full of innocent people," she explained. "Billions have died." The alien seemed confused. "They were threats. All other species are threats. They would destroy me as they destroyed my people." "Not all species are the same," Samantha said. "Humans would not destroy you. We want peace." "You build warships the size of planets," the alien replied. "No one builds such things for peace. We build them to protect," Samantha explained, "just as you built your swarm. But there are better ways to live, ways that don't require endless war." For hours, Samantha talked with the alien. She told it about Earth, about how humans had nearly destroyed themselves before learning to work together. She told it about the Galactic Concord, how different species found ways to live in peace. Slowly, the alien began to understand. "I have been alone for so long," it said. "I thought all other life was a threat." It agreed to call off the swarm. Across the galaxy, the tiny machines stopped attacking. Many simply shut down. Others began to help repair the damage they had caused. The war was over, but the recovery had just begun. Many worlds were lost. Billions had died. The Galactic Concord would never be the same. Earth's military dominance was firmly established. No one could deny the value of the planet-sized warships now. They had saved what remained of galactic civilization. Lieutenant Kelly White established a monitoring network to track remaining swarm activity. The tiny machines were reprogrammed to help rebuild instead of destroy. The planet-sized warships were repurposed as mobile colonies and defense platforms. The Bastion Prime became a traveling hub of science and culture, with sections dedicated to each alien species. Commander Peter Harris led diplomatic efforts to unite the previously divided alien factions. It wasn't easy. Trust had been broken, but the shared experience of nearly being wiped out helped bring people together. 1 year after the final battle, Earth launched a new vessel called Harbinger. It was even larger than the planet-sized warships, but it wasn't built for war. It served as both a defense platform and a diplomatic hub, a place where all species could meet as equals. The lone alien, who called itself the Watcher, joined this new galactic civilization. It shared technology from its ancient people, helping advance science by centuries. A new era had begun, one where humanity's massive ships protected all life in the galaxy. The stars were safer than they had ever been before.